right, we are here in my VermiHut worm tower, and the last time we were in here, we rotated and gave them their first feeding. So this time around, we're going to see how many worms made it up to the top here. Then we're going to give them another big feeding and kind of bulk up the tray to kind of get it a little bit higher. And then we're also going to set up an interesting top feeding for a time lapse. So as you know, we rotated, and this was the oldest inoculating tray, and the shredded cardboard was not completely damp. It was kind of in between being dry and just a little bit damp. And we also want to see how the overall system is doing over the last 25 days. And as I go a little deeper, I am seeing some shredded cardboard that is still just a little bit dry. So let's go ahead and kind of go down in the center in the feeding zone and check and see how they did with that. Now, when we were in here last, first we laid down a layer of dry shredded cardboard in the trough. Then we added a whole bunch of juicy strawberries. Next, we put in some banana peels, a couple of broccoli stalks, a bunch of lettuce mush, along with some cut up broccoli stalks and some mini pepper tops. Finally, we added worm chow, used coffee grounds, and pulverized eggshell grit. So let's look and see if any of that is in here. I am kind of expecting to see some of the broccoli stalks because they eat the inside of it and they kind of leave the outer stringy part left, and I think that's what we're seeing right here. Let's see if there's any more. I am seeing some skin of something right there, probably the peppers, I would say. But they did actually do a pretty good job with the broccoli stalks. Now this right here is probably some sprouts from the peppers, and we will pull those out and they are going to die. You see that the worms aren't going to get to them while they're still alive and growing, but as soon as they die off, the worms will attack them. Same with the microbes. I think over here was also kind of a long broccoli stalk, and that might be it, or maybe it's some of what I already pulled up. That is in the vicinity right there. So things are looking good and moist in the center, and we would expect that because in this worm tower, I usually try to add moisture by adding juicy foods in here, and we're going to do a little bit of that to try and get it up to a really good moisture. I don't think I'm going to have to add damp shredded cardboard. I think I can still add more dry. Let's go ahead and go over to this corner right here and see how it's doing. Not too bad, actually. It's just kind of a little bit, like maybe some in the corner there that was dry. Not seeing like a total dryness or anything, so I think we're going to be good. I think we can just do our feeding with our regular shredded cardboard that's dry and not have to dampen it first. Now, other worm bins, you know, I have been adding damp shredded cardboard, but these worm towers are fantastic. It's one of my favorite things about them is that I don't ever really have to worry about moisture. They do a really good job of regulating it themselves because they've got that great lid, but it also has holes so the worms can breathe, and it drains down below, so if I were to have too much moisture, it will drain out, and the castings and the shredded cardboard and all this material is almost always perfect as far as moisture goes. Now we are seeing a lot of great red wigglers. Let me see, I think we've got some blue worms in the mix here too. This is a mix of blue worms and red wigglers, so we do expect to see both of them. They've been going for 4 years. I started with 2,000 worms in here, and here we are 4 years later, and I think we probably have about 4,000 to 5,000. That is the carrying capacity. If this worm tower was massive or as big as my urban worm bag, then they would have reproduced to somewhere around 10,000 worms. But things are looking great. Let me just mix it up a little bit more, and we will set up for our nice big feeding. I am really impressed with the number of worms that have come up from the lower levels into this tray. This tray hardly had any at all because there was so much cardboard in here. All right, so we've got our trough, and I think we're going to be able to do a pretty good job of adding a lot of bedding and a good feeding for them right down here. All right, in we go with big handfuls of shredded cardboard. And if you've seen my videos before, you know I'm absolutely in love with my 12-sheet cross-cut micro shredder that produces these cardboard shreds, and I actually got my mom one, and now she is shredding cardboard for me. So let's go in with a nice juicy layer of baby spinach right here, and this is an excellent feeding because the worms can get to it really quick, and within about 3 or 4 days they will have that completely gone. In fact, we're going to put that on our top feeding so we can see that in our time lapse. Now I definitely recommend lettuces or spinach for a brand new worm bin, but if you are just starting starting out, I wouldn't necessarily throw banana peels in right away. Maybe wait till your third or fourth feeding. But the worms do a pretty good job of getting to this part right here pretty quick, but then this right here takes a little bit longer. So we'll set that in there for them. And one of the things I do recommend for new worm bins is strawberries, and that is because you can see them eat the flesh and they'll leave behind the leaves because it takes them just a little bit longer. So when you dig in, you know, hey, here is a leafy part, and you can see how much of the red part they ate. And then this right here should be interesting. I've got some cherries, and I know the seeds take forever, so we'll see if they get around to eating the cherry part and leave us with the seeds and the stems for a little bit here. And you know what? I'm gonna take a few strawberries out because I want to put them on the top feeding as well. But let's go in with this nice red pepper right here. And the executive producer is backing up because a lot of times she's in the line of fire here. Whoa, there we go. So right there, we've got some great red peppers and a great colorful feeding. Next, we're gonna go in with some worm chow, just some expired grains in my pantry. And you'll notice that I go, this time around, I went about 3 weeks in between feedings. And that's because I have a really mature bin. When you're just starting out, you wanna make sure that you feed very little, but you feed more often, maybe at least once a week. When you have a more mature bin like this, then you've got a lot more worms in there, and they can attack the food before it rots and goes anaerobic. And always put a lot more bedding in all your bins, really more than you think, because the worms also eat the bedding as food and they turn that into castings. So if you forget or you're out of town and you can't get food scraps in there, they have that bedding to eat. And this is just some coffee grounds. The executive producer is trying to get me to get rid of them, so I am really going to bury up this feeding just like this. It is the winter time and our house is a little bit cooler, so maybe not something you want to do with an outdoor bin at the summertime because it can heat up. And one of the things you don't see me do very often is put coffee filters in there, and that's because I have a Keurig and I have a reusable K-cup that I just put my coffee grounds in, and then I put them in that container that you see and wait to feed them to my worms. And then next we're going to go in with some pulverized eggshells, and I just collect my eggshells up. I just give them a rinse. I don't wash them or anything like that. Let them dry, and then I crush them up and I pulverize them in my Magic Bullet blender. I've got links for all the worm equipment that I use in the description and the pinned comment, so go ahead and check that out. And then we'll put a little bit of dry shredded cardboard on top, and the executive producer is having some second thoughts on how much coffee I put in there, but it is too late. We're going to go ahead and bury this up, and then we're going to go ahead and put all kinds of food on here. And then what I do is in the morning and in the evening, I'll come in and lift the lid, and we'll take a quick video clip of what the worms are doing. We'll string them together. We're going to have a pretty cool time lapse that'll show them eating food. It's really neat. Something you can do in a tower at home as well, since it has a lid. So first things first, we're going to put the star of the show right here. This is a block of tofu, and it's frozen right now, but it should thaw out. Then I have some banana peels that we'll just put here, just like that. And then I think we'll put the strawberries right here, just like that. And then we'll put the cherries here. Maybe we'll see what they do with the seeds as they come up and get into this food. I mashed that one pretty good, so I imagine they'll be attacking that. And then finally, we'll put some spinach right here on the upper part, just like that. Then I'll put a little pocket there of it and also there. Now, I have been running this VermiHut for more than 4 years, so if you want to see how I've been doing it, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and give me a like, and check out the VermiHut playlist to watch all our adventures from the start to this video right here. And in appreciation for you staying this long, let's go to the future and see the first few days of this time lapse. Pretty darn cool. And if you want to find out how much you should feed your worms and how often you should feed them, then check out this video right here. It is the most important lesson for a worm farmer, in my opinion. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing fantastic. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.